Hi, everybody. Welcome to the College of Media's premiere of The Shark, or the Island of the Shark, my bad. Guardians of Malpelo. My name is Paige Gaines, and I am a senior studying media and cinema studies at the University of Illinois, as well as the president of the Documentary Club. I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. As a land-grant institution, the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign has a responsibility to acknowledge the historical context in which it exists. In order to remind ourselves and our community, we will begin this event with the following statement. We are currently on the lands of the Peoria, Kaskaskia, Piankashaw, Wea, Miami, Mascoutin, Odawa, Sauk, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Chickasaw nations. It is important for us to acknowledge these Native nations and for us to work with them as we move forward as an institution. Over the next 150 years, we will be a vibrant community inclusive of all of our differences, with Native peoples at the core of our efforts. When Annie says, "Be one with the ocean," she lives it. Those who know her best will call her Ocean Annie. Annie Crawley is a pioneering underwater filmmaker, environmental photojournalist, author, and ocean advocate whose career spans more than 3 decades. A Chicago native and 1990 graduate of the University of Illinois College of Media, she has become a driving force for ocean literacy, exploration, and conservation through immersive storytelling and education. Please join me in welcoming this year's Illini Comeback Award winner, Annie Crawley.
I think we're live. Yes, we are. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I don't want to go too far in depth about anything because we're going to see it and there's going to be a robust Q&A after. But what I'd like to encourage you to do as you're sitting here is when I'm dressed in street clothes, it's really hard to imagine me with fins on my feet and a mask and snorkel on my face and a camera in my hands. But that's where I feel most at home. When I first entered the ocean, that's what I felt. I felt like I had come home. It's not this scary, dark place that so many people might think of, but it is our life's it's our life's resource. It is our planet's heartbeat. It is every breath you take. And so as you sit here, you cannot breathe air without breathing ocean. 50% of the oxygen in every breath you take comes from the phytoplankton mass in our world ocean. Every drop of water you drink is part of the water cycle that originates in the water, in the ocean, and it literally feeds our world. And so as you sit here and watch the Island of the Sharks, I want you to remember, as you're breathing ocean. You are not disconnected from this. This is not a scary, dark place. This is our planet's life source. I would have never been able to film this without the permission of Biodiversity Conservation Columbia and Erica Lopez, who happens to be on the Zoom with us tonight. She's the woman who's featured in this film. It's extraordinary what she has done, and Alison Davis and I are going to do a deep dive into a Q&A after, and without further ado, I would like you to introduce you to Malpelo, Colombia, 300 miles off the coast of Colombia in the Pacific. That's part of the Eastern Tropical Pacific Marine Corridor. It's protected on paper by more than 4 governments, but you need people like Erica to protect the waters in real time. So this is an introduction to the Island of the Sharks, Guardians of Malpelo. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody. I feel a heaviness in the room. A real heaviness in the room. But it's such great work Erica's doing. Thank you for being a part of this. This is the first time it's ever been shown. So for me to see it on the big screen, it's very emotional because it's 4 years of my life, and it's going to be my 5th year this year since I've been there. And even though I'd like to go through many other edits on this, this has got to be shown because CITES is coming up, and that's where all the governments are going to vote on which sharks need more protection. And so that's coming up in November. And so I'm going to encourage everybody who's watching and listening, we really need action around sharks. So I'm going to take a deep breath and turn it over to Alison, and she's going to ask the first question. So sorry to be so emotional.
No, it's a very emotional, moving, powerful, and beautiful film, and we're just so honored to have you back here with us, and just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing that is so important for all of us here on this planet, what you're doing. We wouldn't know about this experience and what is happening with the sharks without your work, and I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody and everybody on Zoom, I'm sure, that's really enjoyed this beautiful film. I want to talk a little bit about this. As you mentioned, this was a labor of love for you. You really did this mostly by yourself, and you had to even get help from the Silky crew in order to do this film, which I love to see in the credits there. And can you talk more about the production process for this? Maybe what people wouldn't realize, the work that went into this.
Yeah, so when, just 2 things. The reason why the credits are long is because if you watch this without me being present to do a Q&A, I really wanted everybody to understand what is at stake. I think not all documentary films are made with no budget. You know, there's a lot of films that they get the budget first, and then they decide who they can hire and how they could do things. But I work in the scuba diving industry, both as a photographer and filmmaker, and also as a dive instructor. And so it makes sense that on my vacations, I would also want to pay to go on trips as well. So for me, when I showed up as a tourist, I really did go to Malpelo. Because it's one of the triangles. A lot of people know Galapagos and Cocos. Malpelo is a triangle where sharks go to get cleaned. And so I had not been to Malpelo. So when I had the opportunity, because of my friend Faith and Paul, who were leading a trip, I jumped at the chance to go. And the captain, who you were introduced to, Tony, who runs Columbia Dive Adventures, from the moment he met me, he said, "Oh my gosh, you've got to meet Erica. You've got to meet Erica. You've got to meet Erica." And her boat was there, but Erica was not there. And so I visited the Silky because Tony planted the seed that I was going to come back and do a story about Erica and her operation. Erica is based on the mainland of Colombia. She's in a very small little village. And so we met on Zoom. Erica and I met on Zoom, and that very time she invited me to come back. I couldn't tell anybody I was going to Colombia to do this project because there's a real thing with NGOs fighting for money. And Erica's NGO, Biodiversity Conservation Colombia, has a very small budget, and Jacob Griffiths and his family foundation helps fund this, but there's very other little money, and nobody knew about what this boat was doing. No, have you ever heard of the Silky? Have you ever heard of Biodiversity Conservation Colombia? So when I was here and I saw the extraordinary waters of this island, I thought, oh my gosh, this story has got to be told. And so that's how it came to happen. And because they couldn't tell anybody I was going to Colombia for 3 months to live on a boat with a Colombian crew because we didn't know what was going to happen, that's kind of how it started as my small project.
Wow. Can you share with us, when you first pitched the idea of doing this project with Erica, and she's really such a heart of the film, How did you talk to her as a documentary filmmaker and get her to agree, that you were going to be in her space and with them for 3 months and that part of the process?
So Erica can vouch for this. She literally picked me up from the airport. I had 270 pounds of equipment. I flew first class. Every one of my bags, maybe it was more, I had 3. I had to get the first class ticket because I needed 70 pounds in each of my 3 bags. So that was 240 pounds of equipment plus my backpack and a roll carry-on. So I literally set myself up to go to Colombia, and she picks me up from the airport. I stay with her auntie at her auntie's house for a few nights. In the credits, that's Martha's house. Her Aunt Martha supported me when I was there. And then she took me to the harbor and dumped me on a boat and said, I'll see you in 2 months. So Erica, okay, maybe it was 6 weeks later, Erica sent me out to stay with her crew, and she didn't come for like 6 weeks. So how was it with the cameras in Erica's face? I think we have to ask the crew, how was it? And like, I couldn't operate without her crew helping me. And Erica is so loved by her crew and everybody in Malpelo, because a lot of people talk conservation. They say that they're doing the work, but Erica Lopez is doing the work. She's doing the hard work, and she supports her crew. She has to get the fuel and get the groceries and do all of the other stuff on the mainland, because imagine what the Colombian government really cares about when you're thinking about the marine life, or the waters around the island, right? Their main thing is not illegal shark fishers. That's not their main focus around their country, and they have both Pacific and Caribbean side, Atlantic side, and their main patrol that they are working on is not protecting this area from illegal sharks. It's drugs. It's the drugs that are going in and out of a country. So Erica operated in such a silo that when she met me and she looked at my body of work, she was like, "Come, when can you come? Come quick." And so I was the first person who had an interest in her story in such a way that it was going to be told in the right way, or in a way that she could use to help other people understand what she does and what she's up against.
You really help us understand the situation there. One of the ways with the footage you have of the illegal fishing that is going on, and how were you able to obtain that footage, and did you run into any dangerous situations when you were trying to confront some of those people, or any legal situations? I mean, I find that really, it's such moving and powerful footage to see what is happening to the sharks.
So some of that footage is archive footage, even back from when Erica was a Erica was a dive instructor like myself, working in the tourism operation. And that's part of my life as well. I've worked in travel and tourism. So when you work on water, there's like 1 degree of separation with the ocean. The ocean is 70% of our planet, but yet it feels like if you work in ocean conservation or within the ocean, you are 1 step away from knowing everybody who's within this kind of work. So I totally forgot the question that you just asked me. That's all right. Like, I was going there, but I went on a tangent, and now can you remember?
Getting the footage of the illegal fishing.
Yeah. So some of this was way back from when she was working as a dive operator. And we live in a different world in today's world than we did even 5 years ago. So people weren't doing selfies. We were not taking selfies 5 years ago, if you could believe that. We didn't do these things. Yeah. And so there wasn't a lot of footage to show. Like even now, even now, when her crew is fighting off illegals, they don't pick up a camera to show what they're doing because they are literally getting the lines out of the water and chasing the boats away. The crazy thing, there are some regions, like I have friends that are in conservation work in Mexico, and the way that Erica's crew goes up to the boat to chase them away, they would get guns pulled at them in different countries. In Malpelo, they don't have that issue. For the most part, they know, those fishermen know that they cannot be there. And so the time that it is hardest for her crew is if multiple come at one time, because it's hard to chase away 17 different pangas, when you're just one boat. So the footage that I took of them with the gear and with the fishing, it's always the boats are leaving and we're picking up the gear so that no sharks and tuna and swordfish or turtles are getting caught in the lines or are left, because they know that they shouldn't be there. It's a national park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But if you don't have those defenders, the guardians, if you don't have Erica's people there, anybody would come and fish. Anybody would come and fish because of the majesty of the place. So for us, I was never afraid once I was there for the first month. I was afraid the boat might fall apart because for the first 2 weeks I was there, it was Pacifico, and so it rained every day, and I was in the catamaran and it was going like this. If you think about the drone shots that you saw, there were all these beautiful islands. Well, you can't fly the drone when it rains, and you can't shoot really anything on a boat except with a GoPro when it's raining. And so I think the first 2 weeks I was there on the boat, it was raining every day, and I was like, wow, this is going to be an interesting few months. But then the sun came back out, so it was good. It was rain, sun, so.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's your photography, your videography is just so beautiful. And for most of us here, we will never have that experience of being able to dive and capture that world. And can you help us understand that experience of going down there and taking that video and what it feels like to you and why you feel so at home in the water?
So when I was a girl growing up, I had a small swimming pool in my backyard, and we had, I was born and raised in Chicago, so we also had Olympic-sized swimming pool in the summer. So I was on swim team, and I was very comfortable in water. I never dreamed I would be a scuba diver. Never. It wasn't even part of the area. But after I graduated, so University of Illinois, my life changed. Brian Johnson's in the audience. He's now professor emeritus, somebody pointed out to me, which means he is now retired. And I can't even believe that concept because I feel it was just yesterday I was here. But he was my first photojournalism and the first person to put a camera in my hands. And so the reason why it was so important for me to come here to show the film first at the University of Illinois is because I feel like I'm coming home. And homecoming weekend is such a special weekend. But when you think about scuba diving and being able to capture these images, after I left University of Illinois, when I graduated, I saved my money, I worked really hard, I did all these different jobs, and then I was like, I need to be a travel photographer, and that's what I thought I was gonna do. But 2 weeks into my journey, I learned to scuba dive. And my very first breath underwater, I was like looking at my instructor and saying, I could do your job, travel the world and teach people how to scuba dive. Like breathing underwater is a really cool thing. But it's because I did not grow up fearing water. So for me, I found home my very first time underwater because I never learned to swim so that I didn't drown. We have so much fear in our society wrapped up in the relationship that human beings have with water. And it's usually somewhere around fear. And I never, thank you, Mom and Dad, for never giving me that fear around water. And so I think that when I look at the ocean, it is not this dark, scary place. It's a kaleidoscope of colors. It's neutral buoyancy. Astronauts who go to space have to learn to dive first. It is, we live the first 10 months of our lives in our mother's womb. We're in water. We are water people. We are not land people. And so for somebody like myself to find water, and it really is a place I feel so connected to. And I feel the ocean gave me a voice, right? Brian might have given me the skills and the tools to be able to go out and explore the world with a camera in my hand. But the ocean gave me my voice. And then when I meet people like Erica, how could you not tell her story? And I don't even think I did it justice. Like I feel like the whole world needs to see this film and to understand the plight of what sharks are going through right now, because we have killed and hunted 70% of the sharks from our one world ocean. We are 240 plus countries with 240 plus governments who are governing nature. And we are 70% planet ocean. So we have so much work to do for ocean conservation. And it's been a privilege to share Erica's story and to get it out there.
And you mentioned earlier about the High Seas Treaty. I know that I think the 60th country voted.
Yes, just ratified it.
Just ratified it. And is that going to make a difference in the island of Malpelo? And also, what has your film, I know it's now just coming out, and what are your goals for that as far as people being aware of what's going on?
I think it's really important. And Alison, thank you for asking this question. I think it's really important for all of us to wrap our heads around this and what this means. When governments ratify something, that is great, because that means that other people could take action around this, and that it's gotten to a certain point in the process that we're moving into agreement of how to work. The part of Erica Lopez's story in Biodiversity Conservation Colombia, and everybody who works with Erica with this, is that if you don't have boat in the water patrolling, it is a very, very large area. And this High Seas Treaty is very important because now we can put more protections into open water. But if we don't have people protecting the water, it's just on paper. One of the sentences, comments, thoughts, we're in the Spurlock Museum. And when we walk around the museum, we're looking at artifacts and we're looking at objects. Erica and I have come to an agreement that we do not want sharks to be a paleontology study. Let that sink in. 70% of oceanic sharks and rays have been taken from our ocean. I'm using this possessively. I want you to think of our ocean, our sharks. They are not something separate from us. They are part of our planet and very necessary in our ocean. And people have killed 70% of oceanic sharks and rays. 1/3 face extinction. The only way that governments will care is if public awareness drives policy change. If we have the policy change, we still need people watching out for those waters. So very simply, we still need people taking care of the policy, or else it just becomes policy on paper.
Yeah, well, I'm sure your film is going to help broaden the knowledge that everyone has about what is going on right there, and that it is, we need people in the water, like Erica. I also was really moved by how you have this new depiction of sharks. You know, we tend to think the sharks are our enemy, and watching this, you really did such a wonderful job of helping us connect with them on that real, a species level, that they are part of us and part of our world and not the enemy. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about that. Your feeling about sharks.
So I'm laughing because like right now at my local movie theater, they just played Jaws.
Oh, yes.
Because
yes.
If you have not known, this is the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the movie. It's the 51st anniversary of Jaws, the book by Peter Benchley. And so it's very interesting that in 50 years we've also wiped them out, right? Like, but it also inspired shark scientists and shark conservation. So it's done both. The movie, I don't want to say the movie is all bad and evil, but in all of the ocean work that I've done and that I do, one of the things that is like extraordinary in my research and in my study that I realize what I'm up against, sharks are underrepresented in the education system, as is the ocean, and sharks are misrepresented by the media, as is our ocean. So we are very up against two huge, horrible ways that people absorb knowledge, through the education system and through media. What's left? Like, what's left? And so it really takes all of us who are part of the ocean to share our stories. There's 1 or 2 clips of me that Hyber took with a GoPro. So one of the things that when I travel, if I film on this production, Hyber was the gentleman who went like this when we were in that school of sharks. And that's how you feel when you're swimming with a school of sharks. Like, the silky sharks were going into a bait ball. We as divers are not going to put ourselves in the center of the bait ball because that's where the sharks are going. But the sharks are just passing, just like this, just like this. Never mistook me for anything like that. And when you get in the water and you find a bait ball with hundreds of sharks, knowing how endangered they are, it is one of the most joyous moments of my life. And having Hyber and myself, and I didn't want Hyber to be bored diving with me, because when you're filmmaking, you take a long time setting up a shot or waiting in one spot, waiting for behavior to happen. So I always made sure that I had GoPros for anybody I dove with so that they would have fun using a camera as well and documenting anything that they wanted on their dives. And to this day, I still do that. I bring GoPros with me on every trip and give them to other divers so that they can have the joy of capturing it and then hopefully sharing it with their community. So for me, that experience, those few experiences that I had, because there's only a few that you get when there's these bait pulls and then the hundreds of sharks that come around, that you're in the right place at the right time, in the right distance, that you could actually travel to go in the water with them. And it's really an extraordinary experience, extraordinary.
You've been really instrumental in your work in Seattle, too, about encouraging people to experience the ocean. Can you talk more about the work that you're doing there?
Sure. I started in 2006. I'm like laughing at all these kind of coincidences with, University of Illinois and homecoming. The colors of my company, dive into your imagination, are blue and orange. those are like my colors. And so when I was like thinking about this week, it was kind of funny. So I started a company in 2006, and I'll probably talk with your class more about this tomorrow. So just in brief, I started creating children's products about the ocean, books, videos, at the time it was direct-to-home DVDs. And it really, my mission was first, I want to change the way the next generation views the ocean and themselves. Well, think about the kids that saw my programs in 2006, 16, 25, next year, they'd be 30 next year if they got the program when they were 10, right? So I have always been a proponent of teach children about the ocean because they grow up really fast. And when I moved to Seattle, I started working on quite a few projects. But then there was a guy who came into my life, and his name is Cherry Keffler, and he owns Underwater Sports in Seattle. And he literally challenged me to teach 10-year-olds how to dive in our community in dry suits. And he was like, if anybody could do it, you could do this. And so our water temperature is around 48 to 58 degrees year-round. So it's quite cold. It's not like diving in the Bahamas or in warm water. It's cold, and you have to be committed. And so I run a dive team for kids and teens in my community, and I teach them how to dive in cold water because then they could dive all over the world. So I do, and I speak in schools or any place will listen to me speak. I will go. And I started in 2006, my first book, Ocean Life A to Z, I was put on an author tour with Reader's Digest, children's publishing, and one of the people who heard me speak said, you should do this. And so it just kind of went that the school presentations were so powerful because the ocean is underrepresented in education. And it's so important that we get ocean and animal education into the school system at a young age because the majority of life lives in our ocean. The majority of our life is below the surface of the sea. Yeah.
I wondered if there was any questions in the audience. If anybody has any questions, let us know. If not, I can always ask more.
If you were in second grade, every single one of your hands would be up, every single one of them.
Oh, we have one right over here.
So Annie, you mentioned the sharks going to a bait ball. Is that right? What is that?
A bait ball is a school of fish that are juvenile sometimes larger, but it's the very simple answer is when they're young, some fish will go into a bait ball, which is a small school of fish, and they're doing this for numbers. When we look at the fish that were in these bait balls, they were juvenile jacks. It was a kind of jack that is abundant, and they school for protection, but when birds find them, or sharks find them, because you can imagine these are rolling through the ocean and they're usually in a state that they're small and they haven't settled anywhere. And they're feeding on phytoplankton and plankton. And so they will school for protection, they will form a bait ball, and they become bait in a ball for sharks and tuna to eat and other fish to eat.
I had one other question. When they're reeling in the lines and they're cutting the line as close to the hook as they could, does the hook eventually come out, or does it stay there and the animal is just able to continue living with that?
Thanks for that question. So sometimes on those lines, when Erica started this process, they would have these long lines that would be full of sharks. So they came up with this that you couldn't pull the shark into the boat and think it's gonna, that would not be timely. So they will eventually work themselves out of the animal or rust out or come out, right? or stay, but it's way better to have that in your mouth than to be on the line dying, because as soon as they're hooked, they slowly die, all of those animals. So thanks for that.
If there's no more questions from the audience, I just want to ask one more question from you.
Yeah.
You have done an amazing thing, and it wasn't easy.
No.
You have worked very hard and have faced lots of challenges, I'm sure. And I know we have many students watching online or here in the audience. And what would you like to say to them as they're navigating, they're going to be graduating and going out into this big world? And what's your advice for young people as they're pursuing their dreams and their careers?
We could write a book on that, Alison. That way, you want one piece of advice. You guys want one piece of advice? Oh my gosh. Well, one is take electives. That's like, before you graduate, make sure you take electives, because you never know what elective you might end up following as your passion. I would say that something that I was talking to the dean about today, we hear all the time that it's really hard out there in the job market, or, oh, what's going to happen in your future? You can do anything you set your mind to. There's jobs everywhere, more entrepreneurial spirits now than ever before. Oh my gosh, there's like so many things I want to share, and none of them are negative. It's like, all of them are like, you have to go for it. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. If you have a parent or a grandparent, my grandmother asked me until she died when I was gonna get a real job. I am not joking. So I feel that one of the greatest gifts that I could share or impart upon is, one of the hardest things is the feeling of feeling judged. We judge ourselves harder than anybody would ever judge us. And I think that to break through and kick that door down of self-judgment, that the world is growing. We're over 7 billion people. There's so many stories. For the College of Media and what I'm here with, we have more stories now than ever. And if that is your passion, if this is what you want to do, if you continue to sharpen your skills and to embrace the new ones instead of grumbling about them, that you can do anything you set your mind to. You can do anything you set your mind to. You have to choose your path, and there is no straight path from point A to point B. There is no direct line. You get to choose your path, only you. If you end up on a path you don't like, choose another path. Like, think about a trail that you go on. Look at the quad. The quad's got like 25 different sidewalks that will take you from the Illini Union to Gregory Hall. Walk a different path. Choose a different path. That is the greatest advice. Most people don't go out and just start going down that path. And so I guess that would be that there's no right or wrong, but you have to choose what's right for you, right? And it might be different in a couple of years than it is right now. And so don't look at the choices that you're going to make as the one that is the forever choice. My microphone keeps falling. How is that one, Allison?
That was beautiful,
Was that
and
good?
I am going to be waiting for your book, because I can't wait to read that. It's gonna
Everything I
be-
learned from the sea. There is one. Oh, so I am speaking at Allison's class tomorrow. What
at the
is
Richmond Teaching Studio at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, so
Yes.
come and join or sit in on the class if you think you want to take that class in your future.
Yes, yes.
Because you teach it how often?
I teach it every fall. I teach a intro to documentary and an advanced documentary in the spring. And Paige was luckily in both of those classes, one of my amazing students. Yeah, so hello to all my students that are going to be watching tonight. Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out, because when I found out Alison Davis was going to be interviewing me, I was like, that is the girl who sat behind me in Jerry Landay's first broadcast journalism class I took. And I sat next to Dana Kozlov, who's with CBS News. She's the morning host. And so Dana and I sat next to each other, and Allison sat right behind me. And I felt like I was like with a celebrity, because Allison was the DJ of our university's station, and she was so good. She drove a little red car. Everybody knew who Alison Davis was, and she was the DJ. Like, we would call in and request songs from Alison Davis. Come on, do you know your call sign? Come on, say it.
Yeah, shout out to WPGU. Yes, all students that have worked there. Yes, great experience.
Wait, I cut you off. Say it again.
Well, WPGU? Or-
Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible, you know, how our paths connect and then reconnect. And I think you introduced me wrong. I'm sure it's not been 3 decades. I'm sure, because Allison and I just graduated.
That's right.
Just a few years ago, right? Just a
Yes.
few years ago. So,
Yes,
thank
yeah.
you.
Well, Annie's always been someone that I have looked up to with her incredible talent and work. And I remember meeting you through Brian Johnson. She was assisting when I did my last semester here, and I was like, wow, here's this woman who's doing this incredibly talented photography. And yes, and I just want to thank you again for all of your work, what you're doing for the oceans, what you're doing for all of us, and you taking the time to come back here and speak to our students and speak to everyone here today. And I just want to thank you, and I know we all would like to thank you for everything that you've done, and so we really appreciate it.
Love it. And appreciate everybody both here in person and online. And I know Erica Lopez is online, and if you want to check out more about her work, she does a lot on Instagram. Biodiversity Conservation CO is her Instagram handle, and then Biodiversity Conservation Columbia is her website. If you want to do more for sharks, Eric Scheel, who is also the editor of the film and has been my partner in crime in this land-loving process, because Eric doesn't dive. Eric lives in the Seattle area, very close to where I do in the city of Edmonds. We just he helped me build a website as well for Island of the Shark, and it just went live yesterday. So in the media section, we put the press release, but we put, what can you do for sharks? So if you are interested, and if you can, it's something really easy. It's like, why do you care about sharks? And then some hashtags so that Eric and I can both follow and escalate that. Please share it with your friends. This film is not online yet. If you know a group or an organization that we should do a film showing on Zoom or in person, please contact me. We really need to get this out there. We thought, you asked me this question and I didn't answer it properly. We thought we were going a film festival circuit. Film festivals are very hard. They are very, very challenging. They are great, but they are challenging. And you are limited because if you only do film festivals, they don't want you to have public showings. And so we really have realized that this film about what's going on in Malpelo, Colombia, it needs to get told and shared, especially now before CITES in November, to get more public awareness to help other governments. It is translated into Spanish and Mandarin as well, as is most of the documents on our website, because all of these people in the film, English is their second language. So one of the challenges of creating this film was having everybody talk in English, because we realized that the English-speaking market is a bigger market right now for us, for where we wanted to bring this, but we do have it translated with Spanish subtitles and Mandarin subtitles. So knowing that, please help us get this film into your community or another organization, another school, another group. We are open to everything. So thank you very much for being here today and sharing this time with us, because I realize that time is our greatest resource.
Thank you so much, Annie. Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good. ILL.